Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of Talking About My Generation, or TAMG. To all my fellow Indians, I wish a very happy Independence Day. My name is Harshmal, and if you've been with us throughout this series, you will notice that we are shuffling things up a bit today. Over the last few weeks, the team here at Founding Fuel has been hard at work to expand the show into something that started off as a simple chat between me and my father. But as the name of the show suggests, we will continue to bring you that cross generational perspective on various important and engaging topics. Today's conversation will be led by a new Jodi, the father daughter duo of Santosh and Pallavi Desai. Santosh Desai is a well known brand consultant, columnist, and author. I had the privilege of seeing Santosh sir's work firsthand when I was an intern at Future Brands, where he is the CEO. Welcome, guys. Pallavi, the co-founder of Creatures of Habit, an apparel brand, and Pallavi's journey as an entrepreneur started a few years ago until the launch of a venture earlier this year, just a few weeks before the lockdown hit. And if you haven't done so, to our dear audience, please check out Pallavi's column on Founding Fuel about how she got Creatures of Habit off the ground. Um, and Santosh sir's reaction in a very interesting audiogram as well. So let's join them as they talk about their experience of starting up and entrepreneurship. And as always, please drop your questions and comments in the comment box below. Without further ado, over to the Desais.
Thanks, Harsh.
Thanks so much, Harsh. Thanks so much, Harsh. And welcome to everyone. And I'm very happy Independence Day to everyone. So Pallavi, must be a hectic time. How are things?
Yeah, it's definitely been really hectic. Ever since the lockdowns lifted, we've been growing 2.5 times month on month. So in that sense, things are really good. But obviously, in terms of stocks and running out of stocks, it's been a little bit of a problem, and there's a growing concern there. And
But I know that you've had a really interesting one. Some would call it, and some would call it a really difficult time. I mean, the fact of the matter that you launched in early February, and then in the third week of March there's a lockdown. I mean that I know that was a, and then given the fact that it took you 2 long years to put the venture
absolutely.
together, that was I think an extremely time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think before the lockdown actually got announced, we thought that e-commerce brands would be allowed to operate, and so we got a lot of our stock into our office and tried to keep shipping out from our office and continue our operations like that. But unfortunately, of course, e-commerce also did not continue, and it was very difficult because after 2 long years we launched for 40 days, and then for 2 months there was this sort of lockdown, and we didn't have any sales. We only had expenses for those 2 months. So yeah, it was a very difficult time at that time, but I think luckily there has also been like a little bit of a renewed interest since then. So tell me a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
think that in a
about.
sense because of the fact that, and just to, yeah, please.
No, please go.
No, I'm saying that just to give a background on how the journey began and how the idea came in being, and we'll get to, of course, our conversations and our differences of perspective later. But it's been a long journey, and the idea of doing high quality basics came from a personal experience of some kind, didn't it?
Right. Yeah, because I think it was just impossible to find a certain kind of clothes which were high quality that lasted and that actually didn't follow fashion. So I didn't understand why everyday clothing had to be in the fashion space at all. It should just be everyday regular clothes that should exist. So yeah, I think that was sort of the genesis of the idea, and therefore even I think I think you must remember all the names we came up with, and there were some really bad ones over there,
Right.
and the whole journey of that. Tell me
Yes,
a little bit about that.
truly
Do you
horrendous.
remember anything? Do you remember some of
I
them?
fortunately I don't remember anything. Fortunately I don't.
Yeah. So I think even then, therefore, the name Creatures of Habit came into being because we felt that there were a large section of people who wanted to wear everyday clothes that were just high quality, and also just get not stuck into this fashion game. And when you look online on a Myntra and you just want to buy like a plain black T-shirt, there are like 10,000 options. So just navigating that space was very difficult. So therefore, I think that was the genesis of the idea. And as you know, I think we had a lot of discussions about it in the beginning, and it was very different because it was we were just going to launch with a couple of products, and now we have 18 products in our portfolio. So since that, you have also been on this journey with me for the last, sort of,
Right, right. Yeah, as you
yeah,
know, I had a different perspective, and we had our disagreements, I think, early on because I think, from where I stood, it seemed to me that, I could understand it if you guys, Shantam, your co-founder, were going to do something internety and new agey, and something which in some ways, comes from the fact that, from your kind of understanding of the today's kind of times and technology. But what you chose to do was perhaps what is India's most ancient industry, which is textiles. And so, which to my mind, you are walking into something where there were a whole lot of A, established brands, B, there was a lot of resident expertise, and the truth is, you guys were utterly clueless about this category. So I think that was one concern. The other concern was, not knowing if you had thought through, the whole question of funding, whether you had, worked it out, and done your homework fully. I was not convinced about that, although we had many conversations about it. And I think finally, I mean, in some ways, a kind of a creeping fear that, because of the fact that starting up now is pretty much the thing that gets so much press, and there's so much talk around startups, an anxiety perhaps that, what you are in, what you are in love with the idea of starting up rather than, actually having an idea itself that merited a startup. So I think these were some of the issues that, there is always, I think, and interesting thing is that as somebody who, at one level, I really, really believe that entrepreneurship is the way to go. For in this country and otherwise, because I think, I came from a time when the pinnacle of success was to be a manager, and today I think we live in a world where of creators, where the pinnacle of the world is not to be a manager, but to be a
But to
creator.
be a creator.
So I think it's wonderful that you are sort of creating right now. So at one level I feel that, but as a parent, I have the anxieties that I do.
right. I mean, I think it also came from the fact that from in our family, nobody ever was sort of in business, or we didn't really grow up with family and friends who were non-professionals. We've always had only professionals in our entire family. Do you think it was also because there's a generational difference in terms of how difficult or easy it is to start up? 20 years ago, I don't think I could have started this company in the way that with the kind of resources that I have today.
So
But
absolutely,
do you
that,
think
that
that's
I think that
also
has a lot to do with it. That is a lot to do with it. Also, I think, I think my generation, the fact of the matter is that, if I look back at myself when starting out, not once did I think of starting my own business. I mean, that was not a, I did, that's not even a glimmer of a thought in my mind, when I began my journey. And it just was the sense of business that, either you are born in a business family, in which case you did business, but if you were born in a family of professionals, then the only way to go was a job. So, to my mind, there's a mindset that kind of that gets crystallized, and that's what you live with. And so, therefore, I think that was a block. Also, to be fair, I grew up
I was your age at around in the 80s and thereabout, and it was not the best time in India for business and certainly for starting out. So I think I think that was the other problem that existed, which is the fact that there was a genuine kind of a problem in terms of an ecosystem that supported you. So I think those were some of the reasons where I think deep down there is an anxiety about the fact that about anybody starting out and saying you're foregoing something which is stable, something that is good. Much as I believe in it in theory, but in practice, when it comes to actually backing your own daughter, I mean, I think that you're in two minds.
Right. Yeah, no, I think even for me, every time I wanted to talk to you about starting up, it was always a very difficult conversation. And there was a lot of fear attached with just having that conversation. And, looking back, all those business models and those presentations that you made me make really help now because I constantly go back to those and I open that page and I'm like, oh, I was so delusional. And it's good to have that sort of record of how delusional you were over the years. So thank you for that.
No.
And
Well, that time certainly didn't thank you, but yes, thank you for saying thank you right now. I think the other thing also, if you remember, is the fact that I do believe that given the background that you had in philosophy, which is very far from business, in fact, it's very far from virtually anything else. I mean, and that was your degree that you did a degree in mass communication. And I did feel that while otherwise I thought that liberal arts education is the way to go. But if you were keen on starting out, which you were from early on, I thought doing an MBA was important. What was your own experience? I mean, and I just want to say this for a lot of the if you look at the startup heroes, there is this whole narrative in the startup world that education is not really important. There are a whole lot of people who either have not completed higher education or have dropped out, and that is in a sense a narrative of the day. What for you was how do you see looking back the value or otherwise of education?
yeah, I think it was very important for me to get an MBA because, looking back, just the ability to have access to so many startup founders from across the world. And, I did my MBA in Barcelona. So that really got me a lot of exposure. And I've got to meet people who had just started up. It had been 1 year into their startup and they had sort of made it work in that 1 year. So I think seeing those examples was very important, and also just getting business speak, being able to communicate with people using the same language as them. I didn't have any idea about finance. I didn't have any idea about, even digital marketing, all of these things. It was very helpful looking back to go to an MBA program. I know that, even when we were deciding what should be the next step at that time, you weren't also completely convinced about the MBA itself. Even though you had already done the program. Why do you think that was?
Yeah, but I'm actually not, in some senses, not a great fan of MBA because I think if I look back, I think it was very useful. I cannot deny that. Not so much for the content, but for the fact that you meet, I think, some wonderful people there. You have great conversations, and there's a certain, I think, a training in the way that you think, and there is a certain amount of generalized problem solving that abilities that the MBA equips you with, which I think is useful. But my worry is the fact that in some ways MBA trains you to be the opposite of an entrepreneur, because it kind of trains you in terms of being a manager, in terms of resource allocation, and I think the starting point of an MBA is, given a set of circumstances, how do you maximize whatever you want out of it. So I think that is particularly kind of a very MBA kind of a worldview. Whereas for a creator, you have to actually conceive a new world altogether. So you don't work with operating states, you don't work with the world as it is, but you work with a world as it should be. And so to that extent, those were the reasons why I was not sure whether an MBA was really the ideal stepping board. For much as I thought exposure to the world of business was very important, but whether the MBA itself was the right thing to do. But fortunately, I think you found a good program, and I think international exposure helped you in several other ways, which I think does count.
Right. Yeah, I think even in terms of just being in Barcelona where Zara came into being and understanding that business model, I still remember the day where we had a business simulation going on for like a week. And in that, I was, the CEO. And what we had to do was in a textile space. And what that business simulation did to me, was really make me realize that day that I want to be an entrepreneur. And the kind of challenges that it on a daily basis, we just had the sort of news report and we had challenges, and just the way that it made me feel, I feel like I still feel like that even today. I think that's the part of it that's still very exciting, just having these different challenges every day, not doing the same kind of thing. And I felt like that way the program did expose me a bit to that, versus a traditional MBA program which may not have.
Yeah.
But in terms of this particular idea and how long it's taken for you to sort of get behind this, tell me a little bit about how you felt when I came to you and I said that I want to get into a
has been a process, right? Hasn't it? Because I think it really took me a long time. I think because we went through this whole process, I think it's only when I finally got the first T-shirt that you sent me. When I got that and I looked at the quality, and it genuinely, I genuinely sort of got excited, because I thought, a T-shirt is a T-shirt, right? Otherwise, but when I saw that, and I saw that there was actually a difference, and I could see that there was some original work that had gone into it. It was not just another kind of undifferentiated kind of product. And I think it did that. That was the time that actually, while in conversations, perhaps I had moved sort of, and had become more aligned earlier. But truly, when I kind of really got behind this, and I felt that you were onto something, was when I saw the fruits of your labor, which is the product, and I think that was genuinely very interesting. The other thing that I do want to talk about, which is something which again I think is a generational thing, is this the idea of the risk of failure. Again, nowadays it's fashionable, and I think because it's true, to talk about the advantages and the fact that failure is a stepping stone of various kinds. But in reality, our generation certainly was very unforgiving about failure, because you didn't get second chances. You didn't get, so I grew up always with saying that if you don't study, you get, the one chance you will get is in your 12th class. And if you screw that up, you're done for, because then you go into a terrible college, and which will be a downward spiral from there on. So there was this sense that you got very few chances, and that you just grabbed whatever chance that you did get, and a fear of failure. I don't see that the same thing in you, and I think that is a time, also a reason why we've had some conversations about it. So how do you see this whole risk of failure, and what is your perspective on it?
Yeah, I think that definitely there is a generational difference, because now, like you said, that earlier you picked one career and then you kind of stuck to it. There weren't so many changes possible in your career, but now there are doctors who do their MBA after that, and there are lawyers who go and get business degrees, and there are all kinds of people who change their careers even at the age of 40. So I feel like that does give a little bit of a some space in that sense, to not feel like that failure itself, if you don't like your first career, that is a failure. Or and also I think for you it was a big thing that what if this fails and now you have to go and get a job. For me, and I think when I look back, I genuinely felt that over the next 2 years, doing a startup will be much better for me in terms of my learning over getting a job for the next 2 years. So, I think that when I go back to work, even if I have to today, it won't be the same Pallavi that goes back. I feel like I have learned and grown more than I would have in any other 2 years. And like, how do you feel like, looking at that failure? Do you think that when you're looking at hiring people who maybe had failed startups and things like that?
Yeah, so
How do you look at that?
I didn't think so earlier, because I was not, in a sense, it did not. I did not fully grasp, I think, perhaps the advantages of even a failed startup. But over the years, of course, I've had experience, of hiring people with failed startup experiences, and I must say that what you say, I think, is true. I think it is. There is a lot there is a lot of drive, there is a lot of ownership, that I find that people with experience of that kind, they bring to the table, they instantly taking ownership, and a great amount of comfort across domains. So they're not. It's what I think the experience of entrepreneurship does is the fact that it gives you a sense of being virtually responsible for everything and having done everything yourself, which I think is also an experience that you are going through right now, which is the fact that you may have people, but eventually there is no embarrassment, or there are no designations, and there are no boundaries that separate one function from the other. And I think that's the other thing that is extremely useful. So I do agree with you that that sort of experience would be useful regardless of whether this works or it doesn't work. The experience is valuable. I absolutely believe that. The other thing that I've often wondered about is the fact that I've wondered about the paradox of uh, age. At one level, it's glorious that there are so many young people who are rising and doing incredible things, and operating at scales that are staggering. But I wonder whether you have felt, personally, the fact that this whole kind of a toss up between age and capability. Do you think? Do you have anytime wonder whether in 5 years from now you would have been better placed to do what you're doing right now? I mean, if you had started this instead of doing it now, I would have been happier then, and would it have been better for you, or do you disagree?
No, I think I disagree with that because, I think that with a certain kind of, when you're in a certain age group, you're also more open. I do believe that 5 years down the line, if I had a career for 5 years, I would be a very different person, and I would be at that stage. I won't be doing the things that I'm doing today, and being a startup founder, I think as long as you have your basics in place and you don't really need to necessarily learn, that much more, I think you should just go for it the second you have an idea that works. Because waiting those 5 years on that idea is really not going to work. And now you need to come up with another idea that works in those after 5 years, So once you find an idea and it's in the right time, I think you should just go for it.
One of the things that which helped sort of change my mind, apart from, of course, finally the quality of the product, was the fact that you guys had a lot of belief in what you were doing. And I think that is also the hallmark of a lot of successful entrepreneurs, is the sense of conviction and belief. I mean, where does that come from? Where does that sense of belief, where you know that what you're doing is absolutely worth pursuing, and it gives you the kind of clarity of vision to sort of go down that path?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question because I think what happens is that when you are really just looking at the world to come up with an idea that works, and you're looking for spaces that exist, and as you remember, I would have come up with hundreds of ideas, before we actually decided on this one. So when you have that, and you are always constantly comparing one business to another business and figuring out the metrics of them, and you finally find something that works, I think you just know that, okay, this is what you've been searching for all these years. And once it's there, and then, I think it's very helpful actually to be clueless. So if I'm looking back, I think the one thing that has helped me the most is not being from a textile background, not having a design degree in it. And, because then you don't learn to take no for an answer. So I think we've managed to get a lot of these custom fabrics for that reason. Because when I was told that, it's not possible, I just went to another mill. I didn't even realize that why should you not go ahead with it? So,
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of questions coming in also.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of questions that have come up. I think let's start with some of the audience questions and get Harshan to sort of moderate that.
Thanks, guys. That was such a fun conversation, and I think this is a topic that really brings the different opposing perspectives of two generations together, and of course for both of you within the family, trying to achieve an understanding and consensus, and how I enjoyed seeing how far the T-shirt went in sort of bridging that gap. So yeah, let's pick up a few questions from our audience. But first, a question from me for both of you. I'll go to Pallavi first, which is if you had to share one piece of advice uh, with your peers, if they are considering starting up, this is your opportunity to reassure them or warn them.
Yeah, I think definitely I'd tell them to talk to a lot of startup founders and hear a lot of startup journeys, because in that sense, what happens is your life is going to be completely different and it is not a regular 9 to 5 job. And I think a lot of people who take that plunge don't really know what they're getting into. And I think for me, looking back, definitely having my dad set up a lot of these meetings, which I was not at all grateful for in the moment, I have to be honest. In the moment, it felt like, why do I have to meet all these senior people and I'm going to go make a fool of myself? But looking back, that making a fool of myself was very important. And that's how I got a lot of knowledge really fast. And now when I see that the other way to learn is to actually make that mistake and then find out, I'd much rather, just learn from other people's, experiences as much as possible.
Thanks. And Santosh sir, the same question to you, but to your peers. What advice would you give to parents whose children want to start up, or maybe opt for an unconventional career?
I think one is, I think, two parts to it. One is to acknowledge the fact that the times are different, contexts are different, and therefore to account for that context. I think it's important that you cannot import values and an understanding that you have of the world of an earlier era into today's era. That is one. And the other, I think, is important to have a measure of self-awareness. That what might seem to us to be an unbiased and kind of a logical way of looking at the world may actually be steeped in a lot of assumptions and mental models that are steeped in the past. And without the self-awareness that of your own kind of frames that you're using to evaluate any idea with, I think what can happen is that one can get locked up. And what happens is that because you're older and because you've got a measure of success in some form, you tend to back yourself a little more than you should. So I think a little humility and a little self-awareness on the part of parents, I think, would be very valuable.
Yeah, thanks for that. We still have a lot of comments coming in. I think what you guys touched upon about the MBA really resonated with a lot of people in terms of the value an MBA brings. I think that's a debate that will continue for quite some time. But let's take a few more questions. This one is from Vijay Bhatt to Pallavi. He asks, what was your biggest headache as a startup entrepreneur, and where did the solution come from? And just as a follow-up to that, he's also curious to know about why, Pallavi, you committed to entrepreneurship before choosing the specific industry sector. Sometimes we see entrepreneurs going the other way. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think I was very clear that I wanted to start something, and I never felt like I had a job, obviously, for several years, and I never felt like I fit into that space, very honestly. Never did it give me that sense of a career. And I've seen my father, be absolutely in love with what he does, and same with my mother. And growing up, I've seen that, the relationship that they've had. And I'd never had that relationship with the job and with the career. And I really wanted to love what I do every day. And so, I really sat down and I asked myself a hard question that, could I ever be happy in a job? And when the answer was no, I decided that, being an entrepreneur was the way to go. And, and the reason that I sort of chose, apparel later was because I wanted an idea that worked. It was way more important for me that we all kind of agreed upon the benefits and the merits of the idea itself, and something that has legs and something that works according to the time. And so, and I'm not so concerned. I'm not a fashionable person, if I say so to myself. I have no, real interest as such in the fashion industry. It was just the fact that there was a space there and it was an interesting space and I felt like I could occupy it.
Nice. Santosh sir, this question's for both of you, but I'll let you go first, which is, do you ever feel like you would like to swap places in your careers if you get the shot at the entrepreneurship for a while?
Yeah, That's an interesting question. The answer is actually would have to be no. I mean, to be fair, I mean, I am happy to vicariously participate, but it's too much of pain. It's too much of a hassle. I mean, there's too much work involved, and this, you carry too many burdens. I mean, I admire what it takes to be an entrepreneur. But to be, and I'm in some ways, in some form, I am an entrepreneur in my current assignment also. But I don't think in the same way, and I suspect that that's not my thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and if I have to talk about swapping places, yeah, definitely not. I mean,
Right. I think you made that clear.
yeah, I'm quite happy with where I'm at actually.
But I mean, following up from that, we have a question from Shailen Goel who asks, would either of you consider starting up together, working together that goes beyond the sort of mentor-mentee relationship you currently have?
Pallavi,
you can go first.
I'm waiting to hear what you have to say.
No, I was hoping you would go first. But no, yeah, I think, I don't know. I don't think I'm there yet, if I have to be perfectly honest. I think whenever you're working with somebody, it's important to feel like you're at a level where, your opinion matters the same as theirs. And right now, I feel like I'm not confident enough in my ability yet. But hopefully, in a few years, I'll get there. And then, I would be into it. But I don't think my dad is really a business person. So I don't know how he would feel about it.
No, but but my view on this is that I think I think it's really important that the idea is owned by the person who conceives it, and I think it's really important. In this case, this has been an idea that you have conceived of, that you are in ownership of, and I like the role that I'm playing currently, which is a background kind of a role where you come to me when you need to, rather than my having sort of any point of view otherwise. In the early days, we may have had many discussions, but now I think what my role is something I'm quite comfortable with, and I would actually prefer that kind of a role than a role where we are actually starting out together. But who knows?
Thanks. Thanks for your answers. But to our audience, as always, we will continue our conversation on Slack. So do join us there to ask more questions and engage with our guests today. And now, just for a little sneak peek of what's coming soon, please join us next week with a new set of guests. Father-son duo Vijay and Shravan Bhatt will join us on what promises to be a very fun conversation on a topic relevant to all of us, as you can see from our poster over here. Vijay Bhatt, based out of Mumbai, is an advertising industry veteran and founder of Cancer Awakens. His son Shravan is a US-based journalist and a stand-up comedian, and they will be talking about money. So do join us as they talk through different approaches to money and specifically, the dynamic it creates between generations. So I, for one, am very excited about this episode. Keep an eye out for their column on Founding Fuel this week as we build up to next Saturday, same time, same place. That's 7:30 p.m. India time on Saturday, August 22nd. So for now, thank you everyone for joining us. A big thank you to the Desais as well for a great session, and have a great weekend, and see you all next week. Goodbye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.